Now that the dust has settled around the Jim Harbaugh hiring, and we know who are going to be his coordinators and who his GM is, let's do a mock draft. With the 5th overall pick, the Chargers can go in a lot of different directions. Will they just draft a tight end, a wide receiver, a tackle, or maybe trade down? I'm going to get into all the possibilities. Also, spoiler alert, PFF gave me an A for this draft. Stick around to find out if I deserve it. Before we move on, I need 2 things from you though. Number 1, don't blame me for my bad picks, because they're not really my picks. I'm doing it based on what I think the team will do. And number 2, subscribe to the channel. Okay, so first we're going to go over the Chargers roster and see what their needs are going into the draft. So obviously one of the bigger stories going into this offseason is the Chargers cap situation. They are currently $45 million over the cap. And as a lot of people have said, it's not a great situation, but it's also overstated because they just need to make a few moves to get under it. Cap flexibility unfortunately starts with Corey Linsley, who is likely to retire. A guy like Eric Kendricks is probably gone, and same with Morgan Fox. Trade-wise, I think Mike Williams can get a 5th-round pick. I have him going to the Saints, and I know it seems insane because the Saints don't have money, but also, come on, they always end up finding a way. Michael Thomas is going to come off their books, and I can see them wanting to get a guy who kind of fits a similar mold size-wise. A 5th-rounder isn't much, but unfortunately he's coming off an ACL, so that will limit his market. And it's too bad, really, because I do think he's a really good receiver and kind of underrated. Another trade I see happening is for an even bigger star, Joey Bosa. Considering his age, I still see him having value on the trade market, especially since when he is healthy, he still plays quite well. I can see him getting a 3rd-round pick from a team like the Texans. D'Amico Ryans has familiarity with another Bosa during his time with the Niners, and they could use another pass rusher alongside Will Anderson. Plus, they have the cap flexibility thanks to CJ Stroud's contract. As far as restructures or extensions go, I see Matt getting extended. I know there's a lot of talk about it not happening, but I think it just makes more sense to keep him. At his age, you're not going to fetch much on the trade market, and with more cap space coming next year for the Chargers, they can afford to keep him around and maybe cut him next year and get one more good year out of him. Also, Keenan Allen will probably get an extension, probably another 2 years tacked on. He's still playing well, and it seems like Harbaugh really likes him. And he's a good blocker too, so that doesn't hurt. All told, this brings the Chargers to around $35 million in cap space, which sounds like a lot, but really, once you start including how they have to sign back a bunch of people because they have empty roster spots and also draft picks, they won't really have much room to play around. You're going to probably see them more active when it comes to the more mid-level free agents. One guy I can see them targeting is actually not Saquon Barkley, but Josh Jacobs. Jacobs would look actually quite good at a Greg Roman style run game. Obviously, pound for pound, Saquon's better than him, but I just think the fit is better. Other than that, I don't really see them making any significant moves, probably just getting some guys on 1-year contracts or waiting till post-June, so as to maintain their flexibility when it comes to comp picks. As far as some free agents they don't re-sign, I don't see them bringing back Eckler, though it's not an impossibility, considering Harbaugh loves guys who live in the gym. I know they need tight ends, but they'll probably let Everett go. He could potentially net them a comp pick. Same with safety Eloy Gilman and cornerback Michael Davis. Kenneth Murray probably won't net them a comp pick, but they'll just let him go for the sake of letting him go. Going to the draft, they're definitely going to need a tight end, a corner, and a linebacker. In this PFF mock draft scenario, Caleb Williams goes number 1, Drake May goes number 2, and Jaden Daniels goes number 3. After Marvin Harrison goes number 4 to the Cardinals, that leaves the Chargers some interesting options. Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, Brock Bowers, and Rome Odunze are all on the board. And with Jaden Daniels going 3rd overall, that means their trade prospects are pretty limited. So they have to take one of these guys. They're all very good prospects in their own right, and I think they honestly couldn't go wrong even with Odunze. Given the options though, I honestly think they would take Neighbors, despite the fact that there's a very talented tackle and a tight end available. I know Harbaugh and Ortiz want to build through the trenches, but I think Ortiz, coming from the Ravens, who have a reputation as taking the best player available, couldn't pass up a guy like Neighbors here. And coming from the Ravens, he should know how much of a dice roll it gets the farther you get from the top of the draft when it comes to receivers. If you're going to hire Greg Roman, who's not exactly known for devising route combinations that get guys open, it would stand to reason to get a guy who can create space the way Neighbors does. Their next pick, I have the Chargers trading down a little bit to number 41 and getting Darius Robinson, an edge out of Missouri. He doesn't project as being particularly productive as a pass rusher, but he is a stout run defender and could eventually grow into a good power rusher. I can see Jussie Minter wanting the defense to be a lot more stout against the run than it was with Staley throughout his tenure, and Robinson would definitely help with that. In the 3rd round, I have them taking Mike Sainristil, a corner out of Michigan. The Michigan thing is pretty obvious, considering Harbaugh just came from there. But I don't think it's just nepotism. He's a physical corner who definitely fits into the slot because he will definitely be able to handle the run game. And it doesn't hurt that he's familiar with the Jesse Minter defense. With their second third-round pick, the one they got for Joey Bosa, I have the Chargers taking Peyton Wilson, a linebacker out of North Carolina State. He's one of those long, rangy guys who sort of looks like a centaur, and he could probably run like one. He does have an injury history, but Ortiz, coming from the Ravens, has never shied away from that. In round 4, I have the Chargers taking Max Melton, cornerback out of Rutgers. I would have preferred taking a bigger corner, but there wasn't much available at this point. Nonetheless, Melton does have the versatility to be able to play in the slot or outside, and he's comfortable in zone and man, which is an asset considering Minter likes to disguise his coverages a la Mike McDonald. With their second fourth-round pick, I have the Chargers taking Cade Stover, a tight end out of Ohio State. Obviously, he's no Brock Bowers, but he will fit in with what the Chargers want to do. He's got some upside as a receiver, but he's probably never going to be elite in that regard. However, he's going to be a ready and willing blocker. Also, drafting Stover won't preclude them from taking another tight end. More on that in a sec. With their first fifth-round pick, I have the Chargers taking Drake Nugent, center out of Michigan. Consider taking Zach Frazier in the second round instead of Darius Robinson, but the opportunity to take an edge rusher was too much to pass up considering there were some good centers left in the draft. I think Drake Nugent's one of them. He's big, he's nasty, and he's got football IQ, which is basically all you want from a center. Considering guys like Jason Kelce went in the 6th round, I don't think it would hurt the Chargers too much to wait in this draft. With their second fifth-round pick, I have the Chargers going to tight end again with Theo Johnson out of Penn State. Most of the scouting reports around Johnson kind of say that he's not as high of an upside guy as you'd want, and that he profiles more as a blocker with some receiving ability. Considering he's from Canada and he actually hasn't really gotten the ball that much at Penn State, there's upside for him to grow with the right teaching. With the 6th-round pick, I have the Chargers taking a guy whose name I can't pronounce. Is it Zion Log? I'm not sure, but either way, he's a defensive tackle out of Georgia. At this point, you're just hoping to add some depth, and I think adding a guy from Georgia for defensive tackle kind of makes sense. They've produced a lot of NFLers over the last few years, so it's worth a shot this late in the draft. There were some intriguing prospects in terms of the defensive tackle position earlier on in this draft, but I think you can fill out this part of the roster with some free agents post-June. With their last pick in the 7th round, I have the Chargers taking Rasheen Ali, a running back out of Marshall. You could do worse in the 7th round than taking a guy who made Bruce Feldman's freak list. And it's no surprise considering how many explosive plays he creates. That said, he probably projects as a limited role player because he doesn't really have the build to be an every down running back. But I can see Ali being a nice complement to a bigger running back. So what did you think of that draft? Do you think it deserves an A? Do you think Harbaugh and co would really pick neighbors over guys like Joe Alt and Brock Bowers? Let me know in the comments. And as always, please like and subscribe and pass this video around if you can. I'd really appreciate it.